And we're back for our daily NBA predictions and best bets here for May 27th. It is game number 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks. And I'm not sounding the alarms yet. I'm not doing it. Okay, I understand Pacers lose game 3. We'll get into that. I don't think it's as bad as people are looking at it to be. Honestly, like, it is what it is. I think we just need to remember that the Pacers lost game 3 in both the Cleveland and Bucks series, and they ended up winning both of those in 5 games. Okay, I'm not saying to you right now they're going to win the series in 5. There's a chance this goes 6, maybe even 7. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I really don't think it is. Now, again, if the Pacers would have won the last game, we'd be talking about the sweep right now, and I don't think the Knicks would have a chance today. But it's okay. It is what it is. Pacers still up 2-1. We're going to get into the full prediction in a second here, folks. But before we get into the video, again, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA predictions and best bets here on the channel. Every morning at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, we have our MLB best bets here on the channel as well. So make sure to go check that out. And this week on Greedo Plays MMA, our UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield versus Barber full card predictions. Make sure to go check that out. Link in the description down below. Okay, one and only game today, obviously. I'm taking the Pacers again. Not an emotional pick, it's just the truth, okay? I think game 3 is an outlier, guys. For as great as the Pacers looked in the first quarter, in the first and second quarters, that second half was abysmal. Now, they could have easily won that game, by the way. The final score is 106-100 for New York. That's great. This game was essentially a 1 to 3 point game that the Knicks just hit a couple free throws at the end of to make the score look a little bit better. This is one that went down to the wire, obviously, if you did not watch game 3. But the key stat I'm going to point at in this game, you can look at the foul trouble, but I'm going to make the case that the foul trouble for the Knicks actually helped them. I don't know. I think it did. I'll get to that in a second. But the main stat we need to look at going forward into this game 4 and why I personally think game 3 was just, an outlier and that's not going to happen again. The Knicks shot 35% from 3, but the more important stat is the Pacers shot 5 for 25 from the 3-point line. That is very uncharacteristic of the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton goes 2 for 8. Andrew Nembhard 0 for 3. Miles Turner 1 for 6. Aaron Nesmith 1 for 3, who is dealing with the injury. We'll see if Nesmith plays right now. He's a game time decision. If he doesn't play, expect either Obi Toppin or Ben Shepherd to start. Likely Ben Shepherd, I would imagine, with Toppin just getting a lot more minutes. We'll see. Nesmith looked labored when he came back into the game in the fourth quarter. I just don't know. And Siakam as well went 0 for 1 from the 3-point line. Again, it just was not the Pacers' night shooting-wise. And on top of that, or despite that, they still almost won that game. And they had the 20-point lead. Obviously, they blow it. It is what it is. There are 2 major things, though, I think, major reasons why the Pacers lost this game. Again, the first of which was this, but I'll say the 2 major reasons within the game itself was how they closed the second and the third quarters. It's fairly simple to me. The second quarter, Pacers were up 20. They let the Knicks go on a 7-0 run to end the half, or I think 8-0. They're up 21. The Pacers went into halftime only have 13 points against the Knicks. And it was a quarter that they dominated. They let, and then in the third quarter, they let Deuce McBride really come on at the end of the third, cut the lead down to 10. And another thing, I don't know why Rick Carlisle decided to play that bench unit for extended minutes at the end of the third quarter and carried into the top of the fourth. Benedict Mathurin has been god-awful this postseason. I don't care what anybody says. He's been horrible. I like Ben Shepherd, but I don't think he should be playing 20 minutes a game. TJ McConnell had a end of the third quarter and onto the fourth after he was really good in the second quarter. Carlisle, I personally think, just screwed up the rotations and played the bench guys too long in this game. It made absolutely zero sense to me. They did not put the pedal to the metal. They did not step on their neck, step on their throat. That's a better way of putting that. That's the expression. They didn't try to bury the Knicks, was the problem in this game. For New York, Karl-Anthony Towns had his best game of the series, and I'll argue the best game of the postseason for him. 4 points going into the fourth quarter. He scores 20 in the fourth. Again, ends up with 24 points on 8 of 17 shooting, 3 for 7 from the 3-point line, 15 rebounds. Cat was great. And if Cat's playing like that every game, it's very difficult to stop, obviously, and it's going to make it very hard on the Pacers to win. Jalen Brunson was not good. It got to the point where I feel like at the end of the game, Jalen Brunson, and they sat him for a lot in that fourth quarter, I know is because of foul trouble, but in the third quarter, and after he got accidentally stepped on by Aaron Nesmith, to me it felt like Brunson didn't want to shoot the ball. It felt like Brunson didn't want the ball in his hands. And sure, again, Jalen Brunson, it's a Jalen Brunson game. He went 10 for 10 from the free throw line. That's just what the Knicks are going to do. Not just get to the line, but they're going to shoot the free throw. They're going to shoot their free throws at an exceptionally great rate, unlike the Pacers, Siakam and Miles Turner sometimes. Anyways, Brunson had a poor shooting night. 1 for 5 from the three-point line, 6 for 18 from the field. But Cat, of course, stepped up. And I think, personally, the foul trouble for Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, I think it helped the Knicks. I think it did, because it actually forced Tom Thibodeau to manage a rotation and play guys like DeLon Wright, who played amazing defensively for New York. Miles McBride, I know, again, you look at his final stat line, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 shooting. He hit some big shots, got to the free throw line, scored 9 points. And Landry Shamet as well, who had a big 3. They had guys step up. Mitchell Robinson obviously got the start. Josh Hart got sent to the bench, yet Hart still played 34 minutes and played more than Cat, Mitchell Robinson, and Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart, again, didn't have a bad game, got to the free throw line, of course, like every New York's Knicks player. And I'm not going to complain about the whistle. I do think Scott Foster made some horrendous calls on both sides. He's the extender for a reason, right? All series that Scott Foster referees, it gets extended into a 5th or a 6th game. There were some questionable calls on both sides. I'm not going to lie to you, right? I didn't like some of the fouls on Matt Thrun, the offensive fouls that the Pacers had at the end of the 3rd quarter and into the 4th, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Again, the Knicks had some bad calls go the wrong way for them as well, right? It is what it is. You know, officiating in the NBA, I feel like, is at an all-time worst right now, especially, like, you know, on top of that, like the NFL too. I feel like refereeing just in general right now in sports is god-awful. Anyways, it allows for a bunch of controversy, but I think the Pacers are going to win this game 4. I think the simplest way I can look at this is because of the shooting, right? Indiana's whole thing is based on how they shoot the three-point ball, right? And I said this earlier in the postseason, and I'm not afraid to say it again. Again, they were what everyone thought the Celtics were. And in all fairness, that's what the Celtics were in the regular season. A lights-out shooting team. You can't play from behind against the squad because they're going to bury you, because they're going to keep shooting the three ball, and they're not going to let up. That's what Indiana has been all postseason long. And unfortunately, in game number 3, they just couldn't get that three-point ball going. And yet they were still up by 20 points, and yet the New York Knicks still had to make, and I wouldn't say, I guess not all time at this point, because the Pacers have made these comebacks too, but the Knicks still to come back from down 20 points. The Knicks were playing sloppy basketball in the first half. They really fixed it up in the second. They were stopped turning the ball over as well into the 3rd and 4th quarters. But again, New York had to come back down from 20 points just to win a game in which the Pacers shot 20% from the three-point line. This historically great three-point shooting team in the postseason this year shot 20% throughout the entire game, and yet the Knicks still barely got by. And sure, the game was in Indiana. I don't care. If the Pacers just shoot slightly better this time around, they will win. How many games in a row? I mean, is Karl-Anthony Towns going to take this game over again? He might, but I don't think so. Again, he just had a great game in the 4th quarter. I assume Jalen Brunson's going to be better. Again, that is an oddity, right? Every time Jalen Brunson, at least prior to game 3, touched the ball in this series, I was concerned because I know what Jalen Brunson can do. I mean, the fadeaway shots, money from the mid-range. If he pulls up, again, usually money from the mid-range as well. He had his worst game of the postseason, I believe. At least, yeah, I mean, he scores 23 points, but all that damage was done at the free throw line. It is what it is. Get your points where you can get them, right? And then, you know, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. Anunoby was actually really good. Hit some big shots in that game. Only 16 points, but 12 of those were three-pointers. You know, 4 for 6 from the three-point line. Anunoby hit the shots when he needed to. I mean, I can talk about the presence of Mitchell Robinson on the glass. I mean, sure, he only had six rebounds in this game, but Karl-Anthony Towns' 15 boards are really because of Mitchell Robinson, because of the attention that goes to Mitchell Robinson. The Pacers are using 2 guys to box out Robinson, and then, okay, Cat frees himself up for the rebound. I do think the Pacers win, though. This is the same point I had about early in the series, too, about how, you know, oh, New York beat Boston last round. That's great, but they had to overcome huge deficits in which Boston didn't excel in what they are good at and what they're great at, and that's shooting the three-point ball. I'm just going to be honest. The same exact thing applies here. It's literally the same exact story, right? This is an Indiana team that's great shooting the ball. They couldn't figure it out in game 3, and yet they still almost won. And they probably should have won if they didn't, A, make some stupid mistakes, B, if Rick Carlisle knew how to manage a rotation well, they probably win that game, right? It's just the little things that got away from them. But yet again, they almost won it. And I just feel like, again, I don't think it's going to be enough for the Knicks to do it in back-to-back games in Indiana. Now, if the Knicks do win this game 4, am I concerned? 100%. I'm going to be concerned. I'm going to start sounding the alarms for Indiana because immediately all the momentum goes back on the side of New York. I completely understand that. But if we're looking at patterns throughout this postseason, Indiana's gone through the same thing in both of their series so far. And sure, they did have home court advantage in that Milwaukee series, but Indiana wins games 1 and 2 against the Bucks. They drop game 3, they win 4 and 5. You look at that series against the Cavaliers, basically the same type of thing, right? First 2 games, Indiana goes to Cleveland, they win. They come back to game 3, they actually get blown out in that game 3, but then the exact opposite happens in game 4. The Pacers come out to play, they steamroll the Cleveland Cavaliers and don't even give them a chance. I kind of feel like that's what this is going to be. I don't know. I'm never going to count out the Knicks. I mean, look at the last game, right? I mean, they look dead in the water after the Obi Toppin, alley-oop dunk, and then Tyrese got the steal and dunked it himself on the fast break. Like, after those 2 possessions and after those 2 scores for Indiana, I just kind of thought the game was over. But again, it was that poor end of the first half that really concerned me, in the way that Deuce McBride came on at the end of the third quarter, which was concerning as well. And then obviously Karl Anthony Towns had his fourth quarter, which again, I will applaud him for. But I think Indiana's just going to put it on him here in this game 4. I really think so. I think it's going to be very similar to what the Cavs game was last round. As long as the Pacers can get the three-point ball going. If Nesmith doesn't play, is that a concern? 100%. Nesmith has been arguably the second best player for the Pacers throughout this postseason. I mean, I think, you can say Siakam is, but guys, Siakam, let's just be fair to Indiana right now. Siakam's had 1 good game this playoffs. It was game 2 in New York, and he was great in that game. And maybe the Pacers don't even win that game 2 if it's not for Pascal Siakam, but that's really the only great game he has had. Aaron Nesmith has had his nights, not just in game 1 of the series, but throughout the entire playoffs. And sure, Miles Turner has been good too. Turner needs to shoot the three-point ball better. I mean, look at that one spot with, 30 seconds left in the game. Pacers down by 2. Miles Turner gets a very good look and a clean look from the top of the 3 for a three-pointer, obviously, to try to take the lead. And he bricks it. I mean, that's a shot that has been falling throughout the postseason for the Pacers, and one that needs to fall if they're going to continue to win. So I just think a lot went the wrong way for Indiana, and I think if games 1 and 2 are anything to look at, I mean, we should be fine. This is pretty clearly to me just an outlier in game 3. Indiana was horrible, and my biggest point around that is, even though the Pacers were bad shooting-wise, they still could have won the game. It's the same thing I thought about Boston, and that's why I had a lot of, confidence about Indiana beating New York in this 7-game series. And the other reason was because of the pace of Indiana. I didn't know how New York was going to be able to keep up, but obviously that's been spoiled because I think of New York's involvement of a bench, which I think they're going to continue to go to. But my thing is, Boston, I know, again, the Knicks won the series in 6, and you can talk about the Tatum injury all you want, but essentially, to me, Boston lost that series, right? Good for New York. They won it, but Boston lost that series because they were not able to play like they did in the regular season. They were not able to go out there and just outshoot the Knicks the entire game. They still took as many threes as they usually do, but what made them so great in the regular season, that Joe Mazzulla basketball, it just didn't work once they got into the playoffs. Right? It's that simple. So I honestly think that the Pacers are going to be okay because they will be able to play their style of ball that has gotten them to the dance so far. Again, the depth thing with New York, I do think they're going to start playing DeLon Wright more, Landry Shamet. They're going to give these guys more bench minutes, at least they should. I mean, I know that's not what was in the cards for Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks, and that just happened as a result of the foul trouble. And I don't know if Scott Foster's refereeing this game 3. If he is, if it's his crew, it's going to be more foul trouble. Because again, regardless of how you feel on both sides, like, the referees were very involved in that game. And sure, you can say it benefited Indiana more. I don't think it benefited either side. Honestly, I think it just screwed both teams over. And it's just a different style of game that was played compared to the 2 in New York, just because there's so many tic-tacky calls. And sure, you can talk about the reviews and whatnot. It is what it is. That's how the NBA is official or refereed these days. It doesn't make sense, right? But I think because of the foul trouble, I'm thinking that the Knicks are going to keep looking deeper into their bench and say, all right, if we only play Brunson 33 minutes, we only play Cat 35 minutes, we're able to buy those guys time off the bench, and we're able to run with Indiana more, and in turn play better defensively. right? New York didn't give up that wide open 3-point ball as much in the third and fourth quarters because they were going into a bench unit. They had fresher guys who were willing to step up and put hands in faces, right? So we'll see. I still think Indiana is going to be able to win this game. As long as they're able to shoot the ball like they did in New York, they're going to be fine. And I just think, again, game 3 was an outlier. So I'm taking the Indiana Pacers on the money line here and on the spread in game number 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Minus 135 on the money line, minus 2.5 on the spread. And that'll do it, folks, again, for our game 4 prediction and best bet. So, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks or the pick. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.